mother comes out into the bed, of course, she had to clean it all up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Owen and Marsha threw horse shit at me too, and I had braids.
Who was the one that fell through the floor down into the poop?
Oh,
That was one of somebody. Bill tells that story 100 times.
I don't know which one, but I know Barbara and I, and would be Barbara Bitgood. She's passed away now, Barbara Hurley. We rode the pigs.
Yeah.
We rode the pigs.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I
The
never
pigs, how
got
did the
to
pigs
do
feel
that.
about it?
Oh yeah. Oh no, you wouldn't have.
How
You
did the
were
pigs
goody
feel about it,
two-shoes.
Sarah?
What? All this time?
How did the pigs feel about it? Did they hate it?
I don't know. They didn't tell me.
Did they like?
They squealed.
Oh!
I would hold on to their ears, and of course it was all awful stuff.
Muck.
When
I
you got
remember.
out, it wasn't mucky.
Shit, yeah.
So when you got out of this, when you got one to get off, you had to run, and there was a trough. You had to jump off, and we had to wait till my grandfather went way up in the garden. Remember that garden he had way up?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
wait till he went way up, and we go down there, and
Ride
he
the
would ride
pigs.
those pigs. Oh dear God!
Poor
Oh my
pigs.
gosh.
I know it, but they were big.
Yeah.
They
I
were
mean,
big
we were
pigs.
probably
I used to be afraid of them.
maybe 12, 14 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
We weren't that big, you know. We'd ride those pigs, hold on to their ears.
You guys are always hamming it up.
That's
Oh,
Oh,
I mean, I think of the things, you know.
When your mother come out and told Pa that Owen had threw
Through
tomatoes.
tomatoes.
at
I can
him.
remember the tomatoes and the,
And,
oh shit.
And
Oh.
he said, well, if Owen did it, she must have deserved it.
Wow!
Oh, of course, Owen could do no wrong.
he couldn't.
Is that
The
your
only
brother?
time he and Marsha did wrong was I had long braids, like down to here. And I don't know why, but they went out in that barn and they threw that stuff at me. I had it all in my hair.
Oh
Oh, my grandmother, and she never said a word, did she, about Owen?
Oh, no,
Owen, oh God. He was the king, the prince. I mean, and she said, she had to use a fine comb, and I had to put my head, and she had to get all of that out. I imagine the poor soul was tired after working all day long and doing cooking and everything. Oh my God, poor soul. I mean, I think back at it. I don't know what, but I remember it was Marsha and Owen that did it.
And are they your siblings, your brother and sister?
No, Owen is
My
her brother.
Is he older than you?
Owen, yeah. He was
So
the
is that
oldest,
why
right?
he was such a favorite? Was he one of the first?
No, he was a boy.
I don't know. They like the
And
boys.
but he was there a lot.
Yeah.
Because you had problems with your feet
Yeah.
and what have you.
I
And your
know.
mother took care of you. He was there a lot.
Well, see, we lived in Hope Valley
Yeah.
till I was 5, just down the road.
yeah.
And so Owen went
There's
go
a
to
spot
the
next to Ed.
farm.
In a minute, I'm gonna stretch my legs another minute.
He would go, it was funny there, because he was at the farm. And we'd go out and play kick the can at nighttime, all of the kids.
Yeah.
Of course, I was probably that much older than, how much older than you was Owen?
2 years, 4 months.
Is he still with us?
No.
My brother
So it was,
died at 50.
you're
Oh.
4 years old,
Yeah.
so before and 2. Well, you talk 6.5 years. He and Marsha were a lot bigger than I was, and I was a nice little girl. And they got all of that mess in my hair. And I can remember my grandmother was so mad. My hair was like down to here. And that's, there's oats in that. Oh, God, what a mess it was. And she had to wash it, and then she'd fine comb it. And then she'd wash it. Oh, I'd get a hold of them, huh? Oh, she was
So how many
mad.
siblings do you each have?
I don't have any.
Wow.
I was the perfect child.
Nice, I'm with you.
She was a spoiled brat.
I
Oh,
was not. I had to eat my carrots that I
how
didn't
many,
like.
How many for you?
I just had a brother.
Just, okay.
Yeah,
So
who's
let's speak
Marsha?
it.
Marsha, there was
It's
3
Bob,
in that
Uncle
family.
Bob, the oldest.
Bob and Leona's daughter. But she was the youngest.
Not
I
the
think.
Leona.
the-
you mean.
She was 6 months older than me, Marsha.
Six
yeah.
minutes?
And I think
6 months.
Nita was,
Oh.
then there was Nita, which was maybe 7 or 8 years older, and then
Yeah.
Bob, which was maybe a year and a half older than Nita.
And Nita is my cousin Sherry that I'm, and
touch
Yep,
with
yep.
in Florida.
Her
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah, her mom.
Yeah.
So who's still alive then? Besides Sherry
And her sister Judy
and where's
and
Judy?
Jeff. They're all in Florida.
All in Florida.
All-
okay.
all-
But they're the next
Right.
generation.
But
Yeah,
they're the
they're-
next
they're-
generation from
They're
us.
my generation. Well,
So who's
no,
left in your
yeah.
generation?
Actually,
But
Who's left in
Who's
your
left in your
generation?
generation?
That's what I was asking.
no,
the
'cause
two of
I'm in
us
their
and Masha.
generation,
Masha's
But
6
Sherry's
months
my
older than me,
age,
so
yeah,
she's
right,
the oldest.
because I'm
Then
one of the
me.
youngest.
Yeah.
Then me,
Sandra.
and then Billy,
And
and
me.
then you,
And Kathy.
and then Kathy.
Right.
Hmm.
And Sherry, even though Sherry's a year older than me, but she's my second cousin because her mom was my first cousin.
Oh.
Her
That's
mom was in our,
Yep, your generation. yeah,
Generation.
Yep, yep, yep. Interesting.
so to speak.
Yeah.
So, and Jeff is the youngest in the
Well, your mother was the youngest,
the baby
the,
by
out
10
of
years.
5. She
Well,
was,
Scout was what, 10 years older than her?
I think so.
Okay.
And she was 13 years younger than my mother.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Mm.
It was spread out.
I was gonna say.
She had the first few every 2 years, didn't she?
What?
Yeah, she had Bob.
Bob is the oldest.
Bob was the oldest.
Uncle
Then
Bob.
Uncle Bob. Then she
But
had
that was
Dad-
by a different
different father.
father.
Mm-hmm.
Then she had Doris,
Doris was,
and then 2
And
years
Doris
later
is
she
Claire's
had
mom.
my father,
Yeah.
and then 2 years
Scout.
later she had
Joby.
Joby, and then she didn't have anybody till she had
10 years later than that.
Yeah.
Leona. And Leona liked being the baby.
Yes.
Mm.
And she
Oh,
was
yeah.
spoiled.
Oh,
Yes.
she was spoiled, right? She and Nita were the same age,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
and
Nita would be her
Nita
niece.
was the sweetest,
Yes.
very sweet, very kid oriented, very just a sweet person.
Yep, I knew her pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nita wasn't she?
Yeah, because we used
Yeah.
to go to Florida and visit.
Yeah.
So what was Leona like as a little girl?
I don't know. I don't know as a little girl. I only know her when
No, my mother.
Yeah.
Not Leona Bob's. She's
No,
not-
I know Leona.
Yeah.
Her
Bitgood.
mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Not nice.
yes.
I mean that, but I was like,
She didn't care for me. My
well, she
whole,
didn't care for me.
my whole life, and I could never understand whatever I did to her.
Mm.
And so I said to my father one time, she really hates me, and I don't know what I ever did. He says, it's the fact that you were born. And I took her place in Pa's lap. I was the one that was sitting in his lap, and
Hmm.
because
Yeah, she did.
my mother would go there and my mother plant the garden. She and Ma would can the vegetables and everything, and to get me out from under their feet, they'd send me into Pa. So I'd go in
Gotcha.
and he would read to me, and he'd tell me stories about the bakery,
Yeah.
where his heart really was.
Did he
It
have a
was not-
bakery?
Yeah.
In the
He was a
beginning.
baker.
In the beginning,
He was a baker.
Yeah.
and that's where his heart was. It wasn't in farming.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you know why he used to work extra on the weekends? When he was at the bakery?
No.
Because he needed the dough.
Oh.
Oh no! That's a double. That's a double.
I tried to rise to the occasion. I got a dozen more
Yes.
for you.
You're very good.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that is good. No.
I'm not loafing around.
I don't remember her. I only remember her when she was married in Billy, and I remember
Oh,
Sue
yeah.
Ellen when she was little.
Because I used to sleep with you.
When you were little.
When I was little, I had
I
to go
thought
up
you
and
were awful. I thought you were. Oh, I thought she was just as sweet. Ma would say to her, "You can't go past here. If you go out in that old kitchen,
Oh,
Remember
she
the
wouldn't
old
let me go into there.
no, there would be a line, and she'd draw it right across. You can't come through there. And you'd put your little toes right up there, and you would not go.
Oh,
thought,
That's
wow,
sweet.
that is.
man, I didn't remember.
Yep, and she used to comb my hair, and I had the long braids down to
Yeah.
my fanny.
We all did.
Yep,
We all did. Those days you did.
And I remember her putting me in the pot to wash me, big metal pot.
Oh, really?
Oh, no,
You remember that
I
even?
do.
It was
I remember.
the thing behind the
Galvanized,
stove.
yeah, that galvanized thing.
Yeah.
Huh.
Put me in the pot. Well, she washed me in the kitchen a few times. I mean, in the
In
sink.
the sink, yeah.
But then when
You
I
were
got
little.
too big for the sink, I had to go in the galvanized pot.
I used
Because
to
I
have,
used to spend a week or two, or a lot of time in the summer.
I'd have to take a bath with
Which
my
I love.
brother, and he'd pee in the water.
Oh.
And
That's nasty.
We're getting all the juice here. Oh man.
Wow.
I was telling them about the corn cakes.
Yeah. So
Oh,
do
yeah.
we have that recipe?
oh yeah, I have.
So you
yeah.
milk it, you grate it,
Yeah,
and then you
No.
keep the gratings in there, and then you milk the corn, and then what?
you just grate the corn on a,
A
those
grater,
grater, and then you put
flour,
an egg.
little sugar, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do? You just cook it like a pancake, same
Yeah.
type like a Johnny
Yeah,
cake
just
kind
like
of?
a,
But it's softer than a Johnny cake.
yeah, yeah.
They're good.
And that-
Oh, they're really good.
yeah.
I want to try it.
I made a lot of those through the years.
What's the ratio of?
I've
Or
made
maybe
them
we
with,
can get the recipe if you've got it written down.
I have.
Yeah, I'd love to have it. It'd be
Okay.
interesting. I've never tried it.
I have made them with cream style corn.
I haven't.
Where you just buy the cream corn and make it.
Just buy a can of it.
Can of cream style corn.
Yeah.
Because
made
this
it with
is
those.
raw corn
Yeah, this is raw. Yeah,
they're using.
And lemon slump.
lemon slump.
What's a slump? What's a slump?
Can I tell the story? So
Well,
I asked.
first you should ask if they like it.
Do you like it?
Oh, I
Oh,
love it.
yeah.
Well,
Do you have the real recipe?
Yes, I
Yeah, and a
do.
blueberry
slump.
and blueberry slump.
Blueberry slump. Yeah.
Apple
That sounds
slump.
Peach.
Yeah.
Yep. We
We,
used to have.
we
Tell
didn't
your-
do peach.
I'll tell you my
Mine
story.
didn't
So my father, for my whole life, has talked about lemon slump and how much he loved it that Ma used to make. And so I asked my mom. She goes, "I don't know it." And then, so finally, when I started to talk to Leona, I said, "Nana, do you have the recipe for a lemon slump?" She goes, "Maybe. I'll try to find it for you." So she gives me the recipe finally. So I decide. My parents are divorced now. My dad's up and down. I'm like, I'm gonna make him lemon slump. So I have Kendra, my dad, and my grandmother Evelyn, all for dinner, and I'm making this lemon slump, and I'm smashing all these lemons, and I'm putting them in there, and I'm getting the dough and putting it in, and I cook it all up, and I pull it out, and my dad takes one bite, and he's like, he puckers up like this, and he's like, I'm like, it's pretty tart, and not necessarily the most.
And Wayne would eat anything.
And he wouldn't eat anything. I mean, he's like, I was like, do you like it? He's like, well, it's okay. I'm
It's
like, but you
okay.
talked about this my whole life. He's like, well, I think it was because it was more memorable. And I was like, oh, Dad.
No, it was really good.
Was it really good?
Ours
Maybe
was
the
not
recipe
good.
was a
No.
little
Ours was
off.
not
Now,
good.
see, the thing is that I asked my grandmother for the recipe, and I wrote the recipe down. But the recipe she put a cup of vinegar in, and it wasn't
Ooh.
supposed to be a cup
Oh
of
yeah, there
vinegar.
was a couple or
That-
more of vinegar in there.
And it was like it must have been a tablespoon or something,
Yeah.
because I tried it when we were up here in Rhode Island.
Well,
and
she
I
never
made it.
had a recipe. She just
Threw stuff together.
I know,
together.
but when Ma gave it to me, she said she recited it to me, and she said a cup of vinegar. So then I made it, and he had that pucker power face
Oh, it was-
too.
Yeah.
And then I cut the vinegar in half and tried it again, and it was still bad. And I cut it in third, and it was still too tart. So I thought it had to be a
It's the
tablespoon
error.
or something.
It was. I don't ever remember putting vinegar in it. Do you?
yeah, there is,
Yep.
but it's
A
maybe
little
a
bit.
tablespoon.
Maybe a
something.
tablespoon instead of a cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like dumplings. It's like
Little
lemon
difference.
dumplings.
Like dumplings
Okay.
in
The
a
one
lemon
we made
sauce.
was not good.
And it comes out like a syrup.
Yep.
Yeah, like a
Yep.
sauce, a
And
thick
the
syrup.
dumplings on top. Like my kids didn't like the lemon, but they loved the blueberry and the apple.
Yeah.
Ma used to do that like Sunday nights.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly
You know,
right. Sunday
when
night
they had the
dinner.
blueberry.
And then
That's-
she
oh, that's so
pour heavy
Heavy
cream.
cream.
Heavy cream on it.
Yeah.
There's the
Yeah.
bill
You
of
pour the heavy
Yeah,
cream
right.
over the top. My kids always liked ice cream on
Oh,
top.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And you
that's
serve
it.
it warm,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that the cream.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I like the slumps.
Yeah, I do too.
I probably would if it wasn't full of vinegar,
Yeah, I think you might have liked it too. But I
love
can
lemon.
remember hers. She would make slices of the lemon,
Yes.
and they float on the top.
Oh, really?
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
they floated on the top,
Huh.
and it would make a syrup.
Well, maybe we should get that recipe too and try the original.
Yeah,
I
you
got that somewhere. And
All right, we got to
some
get
of
it.
my recipes are on a piece of paper like
Like
this,
that.
and it would say Ma
Scribble.
Bitgood. And the best thing of all was her suet pudding.
Oh,
What is that?
yes.
That was the best.
What is
That
it?
suet pudding is so good.
You
Sounds
take your.
repulsive.
It
Is
does.
suet
Oh,
fat?
I know.
What's
It
suet?
will.
So it is
You
like
know
a-
what? You could say. She called it suet pudding. You could say
It's
you
more-
wanted to be proper. Now Leona would have said plum pudding.
It
I'm
is-
making
yeah,
plum
that's what
pudding.
I was going to say, the plum pudding.
Okay.
All
Why is
right,
it called suet?
because you put suet in it.
Bird suet?
No,
Yeah,
well,
suet,
yes,
grain.
yes, it's ground.
grain.
You have to grind
It's
it.
a grain, like
Suet's like fat.
Yeah, fat.
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's, well,
yeah,
It's
it
the
is.
fat.
it's a fat part.
It's a fat. But it's ground. You have to have somebody grind it for you. And you use the suet and molasses and raisins. But she always ground her raisins, which, see, when I did it, it was too much trouble to
Yeah,
grind.
yeah,
I
You have
would
to
just,
grind it.
I would,
Did she have like a
From-
meat grinder? Is that how she was
no,
grinding?
she had a little round grinder, you know, that you put underneath
Yeah,
the
the
thing and you go
grinder.
in like this.
You put your hamburger in there,
Yeah.
put your meat in
Yeah,
there, now
that's
comes
it.
hamburger.
I never remember doing anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, she
Yes.
did, but anyway, and she put citron.
Yeah.
You had to cut that real fine.
Yep, yep.
Cut that real fine. And molasses and you had to do regular milk. I remember that. No canned milk, no cream, no nothing. Regular, sweet milk is on my
Yep,
thing.
yep, yep.
Sweet milk.
Like condensed milk.
No, sweet milk.
Isn't it
Regular
condensed
milk out of a bottle.
Whole milk,
Whole milk.
Okay.
Whole milk.
whole milk.
Whole milk out of a bottle. And flour. And it was hard to mix everything together. With that. And then you put it and you had to steam it.
Yep,
Steam it for 2 hours.
Steam it.
yeah.
Steam.
How do you steam it? You use a double boiler or something?
No,
Well, no, I always used, a clam boiler.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or you put the water in the bottom and,
And then you put that little thing on top.
I'd put the, she always did them in like spray pans.
Okay.
What pans?
Spray Crisco pan. A jar. You know what Crisco, when you make
Oh.
it, yeah. She put them in one of those.
and that
And you cook it
goes-
inside something else that's boiling so it
That's
steams.
boiling,
Yeah.
so it steams,
Like
right.
almost like you'd be
Cover around
canning.
The can goes inside the
Pot or
The
whatever.
pot, yeah. I get
She
it.
used to do several in the pot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
she'd
yeah.
have a bunch of them and they'd be steaming.
She would, when she made pies, she had this long table and she would make 3 pies at a time. 3 pumpkin pies, 3 blueberry pies,
See, that's where I got that.
3 mince pies, holidays.
Yeah.
All
like
of
mince
these
pie.
pies.
Nobody makes mince pie anymore.
No, they don't.
I used to, for my son-in-law liked it, but it got so he would have a piece and I would have a piece.
And that was it.
And what's
Yeah.
in it?
It's like meat.
Is it really
Usually
meat?
You can buy it in a jar. She always made hers.
What was that?
Mince meat.
And it's
Yeah,
made
she
out
did.
of meat. The,
Yeah.
You
the
mix in,
jar
like,
is not.
Raisins
Raisins.
and
Yeah.
nuts and other
Yeah,
things into
yeah,
it, right? And make
But-
it like a.
I made for David because David loved mince pie, and I did for years. I made it, but then it got so many people that they'd have. I made mincemeat squares.
Yeah.
I would drain the juice, and just do the insides. I made mincemeat squares.
David's mother always made that.
Yeah.
Squares
Old
rather
timey
than
stuff.
pie.
Not in my wheelhouse.
You did not want to mince words about it.
You don't like mincemeat.
For Ma's birthday, my mother would make a lemon meringue pie.
Oh.
yeah.
Well, she couldn't make them really in
That oven.
that oven, you know, and the
Right.
meringue and stuff.
Well, it's
So-
a wood burning oven.
So on her birthday, we'd go up there. She'd meet my mother right at the door, grab that pie, and go into the pantry. You never saw it.
That was hers.
Yeah, and my father loved to needle it. He'd say, "Didn't I see a lemon meringue pie go through here?" And she'd just look right straight ahead and not say a word. She'd
She
love
would.
to do that.
Yeah.
My mother's kicking him under the table.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna eat that whole pie. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't eat much,
No, she didn't.
and she never ate in front of anybody.
It
She
was
said
all-
at the end of the table with a cup of coffee, And
She was
would-
always the last one. She'd jump up for everybody.
Yeah.
Hmm.
When everybody
Owen would
went
sit
in-
there and she'd have
Your
all
mother
of
or
this
Mom?
food. All of this food, and he'd say, I don't like anything. Can I have a peanut butter and jelly? Yes, dear, of course.
Oh.
Peanut butter and jelly, right? Am I right?
Yes, you
Who would
are.
do that?
Owen.
Huh?
Owen?
Owen would.
Oh my.
Yes,
And there would
I
be
hadn't heard that
everything
one.
on that table.
And he'd come home and he wanted to be babied like Ma baby him. Well, my mother wasn't gonna baby him. They
Oh no, she
go
did
around
baby him.
and around.
Oh, she would baby him too,
Nope.
Ma did.
I know
Oh.
she did.
Oh,
That's funny.
but they were asking about Uncle Bill, and I said, Uncle Bill, always had lunch,
Yeah,
and he loved Ma's food.
yeah. He loved Ma and Pa.
Yeah, he did.
It was a totally different
Yep.
atmosphere
Well,
when
he-
he was brought up.
Yep.
When he was come down, when he would go down to the plant, he would go and have lunch because I'd hear about it.
Well,
Yes,
yeah, no, that's when he
yes.
that's
That's
when he
when
would
he-
come up. He'd come up
By
every
himself.
single noon,
He'd go by himself.
and he'd have, and he would have. He loved everything.
Yep.
Everything my grandmother did, and he appreciated it
Yeah.
too.
Right.
Always said thank you.
But he stayed thin.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, he was never heavy.
Yeah, I think he always weighed
But it was-
140.
Him going from one extreme to
Exactly.
the
Right.
Exactly.
Do you remember when his would be your grandmother on the other side?
other. Daisy?
Daisy.
Is that what her name
Yep,
was?
Daisy.
She would sit in the corner at Christmas time. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
She'd sit over here in the corner. I imagine that poor woman was dazed.
Well,
I mean,
was
she
Daisy?
came from such a different life.
Exactly.
Who's Daisy?
You know,
My grandmother.
well,
Who?
your
Your
mother.
great grandmother.
So
Bill's
Leona's
mother?
mom?
Bill's
Bill's
mother.
Father's
Yes.
mother.
I've
Pop's
never
mom.
heard that name.
Pop's
It
mother.
was Marion Daisy.
I
She
don't
went by
Eddie.
mother.
Eddie, yeah.
She was Eddie.
Yeah.
And Marion Daisy Eddie was
But
her
I
name.
can remember her all dressed
we-
up,
everybody
sitting
called her
over here in the chair. And I mean, as I grew older, I used to think, boy, I bet you she was dazed. It was all that went on in that house.
Well, my father's job was to entertain her.
Oh, geez.
Noni would say, you entertain. And so he would. And she'd be in there
Who?
and my mother
My,
would say,
my
"Oh,
grandmother?
Mm.
yeah, what is he telling her?
Because
Probably
it was a different life for her. I
I
mean,
know.
it was
What does that
nothing.
mean? What was her life before?
Well,
Elite.
She was,
Elite.
she was
Elite.
Bill's Pop's mother and father didn't live together.
Right.
And she lived in a house with servants
Right.
and
On the east side.
on the east
Yeah.
side,
And
and a
elite.
very proper, rich woman's
Yeah.
life.
yes.
The Bitgood life was not like that.
No, it was very simple,
But
down
she
to earth.
loved it.
Yeah.
She did.
Going
Yeah.
up
So
there
did
because
Pop.
it was so
Oh, he did.
unique
he did.
for her.
He did.
Yep.
He really enjoyed.
And my mother,
Oh, that's good.
like,
He did.
being
I believe
in
it.
the other
Society, yeah.
society.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
She
it
was a
was,
pretender to the other
Right,
society.
right.
Exactly.
yeah, that was
She
the,
wanted to join the
So
other
was there
society.
any
She
connection?
wasn't.
Was there any connection to the singer, Nelson? Eddy?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Nelson
Yeah.
Eddy was a
Newport.
cousin, wasn't it?
She came from Newport originally.
yeah.
But she was. I mean, she would be dressed to the hilt when she came. Don't you remember
Yeah,
that?
She
Yeah.
never knew any other life.
No, no.
Servants and everything. And
She used to
When
call
she
me
came
her
down-
little, she used to call me her little bright eyes. 'Cause
Aw.
I was, what, 7 when she, or 6.5 when she passed away, 7 when she passed
Yeah.
away. And I would go and find her glasses and she'd say, you're my little bright eyes. Priceless.
she was a nice lady.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was.
She had a good heart.
What I can remember.
Who was it that like shower gathered at the river?
Ma.
Oh,
Bitgood.
this one?
Ma, no, Ma
Oh, okay.
Bitgood. That was, she said, she always told me, I want, shall we gather at the river at my funeral? She wanted that song. It was her song.
Did she get it?
I don't know, I
I
was
doubt
not
it.
there. I don't think so.
I doubt it. I was there.
Hey, they all lived into the late 90s. That
Mm.
whole family.
She was not, a week before 97th birthday.
Yeah.
I think the youngest died at 86. All the rest was,
Nora.
well, and then
But Maud
90s.
was 89, I think.
Who's Maud?
And
No,
then
her
the sister
name was
Maud.
Maud. It was her oldest sister,
And my
youngest.
Gigi,
Maud was younger than Ma.
Right.
Ma was the oldest.
Right.
Next to the oldest. Addie was the oldest.
Oh, Addie was the oldest, yeah, but he never knew her. She died.
And
Oh, I
Lil- how,
remember
where was
going to
Lillian
see
was
her.
in the,
Do you? Oh, no, she
Yeah,
wasn't
Aunt Lily.
alive then. Aunt Lily was younger.
she was in
Oh,
the
she's
younger
the
one.
youngest.
Yeah.
Her and Aunt Nora.
I got
Yeah.
They were a
pictures.
lot younger.
Claire's got loads of pictures, but you did pictures for me, and I got pictures of Nora and who was the other one that was young?
Aunt Lily.
Oh, Aunt Lily, that's
Yeah.
right. Nora and Lily were the two youngest.
And those were the ones I knew the best.
Yeah.
You would.
Because they were a
yeah.
lot younger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were a lot
And
younger.
Lily used to wear her braid and she'd have her chamomile tea every night.
That's right, she did.
Because she lived in the other side
The
for a
other-
while
the other
too.
side, yeah.
Where you lived. For
Mhm.
how many years did you live on the other side of the house?
That's what
I moved in when I was 6, I think.
Wow.
6. We lived down on Skunk Hill Road
Yes.
before that.
I remember staying with your mother. I think she may have been pregnant with you.
Really?
And I stayed with her while they went to a funeral. I don't know, it was a
Who's
family funeral, so it must have been,
Maybe one of the grandmothers.
yeah, it was their mother or something.
Yeah.
And your father drove, and and I remember staying with your mother. And now that I think about it, I think she might have been pregnant. Because your mother was.
Well, when she had me, the earth stopped.
Exactly.
Oh.
Oh, boy. What these little
Well,
boys
my
do?
father, this will give you a good one. My mother was going to teach your mother how to drive.
Uh-oh.
All right?
Your mother.
My mother was going to teach your mother. My mother was a good driver.
Yeah.
She was going to teach
How many
your
years
mother.
between them?
About the same as my father, because my father was born in July and she was born in October. So they were about the same age. you know.
Okay.
Anyway, my father said, no, you are not teaching her how to drive. You're not teaching her how to drive. I can teach her how to drive. She wants to know how to drive. No, you're not teaching her how to drive. Well, my father was on the state road at the time. All right, state garage. And there's a little teeny, it's still there, bridge right past the state garage. It's a big state garage now, it wasn't then, but right past that, there's a little teeny road. And Noni's driving, my mother's teaching her, and my father's coming this way, and they're going this way.
Oh.
And then what happened?
I don't know whether they collided, but I guess they came so close that
Slot paint. Is what we're saying.
it was not a happy scene. Not a happy scene.
3 siblings. Okay, having this driving contest.
Well, yeah, the 2 siblings though. My mother was not, she was married to my father, but I don't think I was born yet though, because they waited 5 years to get me.
Yeah.
Isn't
Nice.
that wonderful?
As I was saying with your mother, while they all went to somebody's funeral, it must have been Grandma Bitgood, I don't know. But my mother must have told her that, your mother, that I took a nap. And so she took me in to take a nap, and I kept getting up.
They wanted you to stay in that bed.
Well, my mother never left me before. This was probably the first time she ever left me.
And you were how old then?
I probably was about
23.
And a half.
probably about 3 or 4.
Okay.
I just can remember her
Yeah.
telling me go back in there that my mother said I was to take a nap, and I didn't want to take no nap.
Yeah.
Only babies
That was
took naps.
That was on Skunk Hill Road.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. Yep.
I wasn't born yet. If you were only 3 or 4, I wasn't born yet.
No,
Probably.
I don't
There's
think
how many years between you?
4, right?
4. Yeah, I think your mother might have been pregnant with you.
Probably.